We are in a place we're in a continuous downwards, whether it be a civil war, collapse. Some of us want to kill each other for no other reason than what we've been told by the news.
You have something to say?
I sat through the Trump presidency and did nothing, and I was ashamed of myself for that. From January 6th, I realized this was also around the time I was coming out as trans. The right wing is full of psychopaths that they are armed, they out-arm us, they out-organize us. So willing to oppress us via violence and legislation. And in this way, I decided there needs to be more leftist armed formations to counter this. So I am with the Wisconsin John Brown Gun Club. We are big on community defense, advocacy, especially for marginalized communities, seeking an alternative outside Genocide Joe or Fascist Trump. We expect there to be unrest, and there's a lot of fear-mongering that goes into right-wing politics as well. So leftists in particular are worried because we see the downward spiral to fascism. By left, I mean actual leftists, like communist, anarchist. I don't mean liberals. You guys aren't left. You're conservative. If you read books on fascism, like they're near identical to what's happening in the United States. You have appeal to nostalgia or appeal to a mythic past, like the Aryan race or Make America Great Again. They're rallying the evangelical voters. They have taught that we're coming after their kids. Just like they do in every genocide ever, they're wrapping up their dehumanization of us. You are a mental illness, bitch. Wow, you and your 6-year-old bride must make nightmares together. Trash Hamas. My fiance is the exact same age I am, 26. You are one of the ugliest person I've ever seen. Secondly, you are gay. I'll kill you out in the field, then scalp your dyke head Lamau. The fact that Americans, like myself, feel the need to now protest with a rifle in our hands, part of it's a message that we will not take these continuous attacks on our rights standing down.
I think this election is probably the most important election in the history of our country. We're a national club with chapters in Texas, Missouri, Illinois, and 2 chapters here in Indiana. Yeah, the 3% movement is an idea based off of when the Revolutionary War happened. back in the early times of the USA, that only 3% of the population took up arms against the British. We're the modern day 3% people who are taking up arms against tyrannical big government who aims to take our rights away, and hopefully that day never comes. But I'd like to know that I'm prepared when the day does come, and I think we all know that it's probably coming sooner rather than later. When 9/11 happened in this country, we saw a unity happen here like I've never seen before in my life. It didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter what color your skin was. We were Americans. That's all that mattered. We see this divide just keep growing further and further, and it's a dangerous place to be.
You want to try and shoot the big one?
Sure.
You do want to try?
Sure.
I would consider myself a prepper. Several years ago, I bought a house out in the rural area. I've learned to be self-sufficient in that way. So these are 72-hour food kits. I just throw it up on the shelf and wait till I need it. They're really good too. You want a jar? I have my weapons here that I know how to shoot, and I'll do so if I have to. I don't want to, but if I have to, I will. And we are seeing this movement grow in a way that is inspiring. We're not out looking for a fight. We're not looking to go out and shoot people. But I think the inevitable is written on the wall. The way Joe Biden is running this country right now is inflation's through the roof. There's less and less jobs available every month. We see more and more poverty. The southern border is wide open. And I hope that the people that are coming here, truly coming here to find a better life, to live the American dream. But I think we're lying to ourselves if we think that that's the truth. That the Chinese nationalists, all of military fighting age that are coming here aren't going to organize one day and think they're going to take over or whatever. Well, guess what? When that day comes, I'm going to be ready. Oh, I mean, I'm very worried that they're going to try and do anything they can to prevent Trump from winning. I mean, we're seeing that now, how they're tying him up in these bullshit court cases. What I'm worried about is that we have a similar situation of what we had in 2020, the election, how, it was stolen from him and causes chaos.
You don't ever want to point the gun at anything you don't plan to destroy. You understand? Okay, are you ready to try?
In the worst case scenario, maybe there are riots and, unfortunately people lose their life or whatever. I don't know. I hope that doesn't happen. Is it a possibility? Yeah, I think so. I think people are just that fed up.
I've been around for 82 years now. Never seen so much gunpowder and so many matches flying around in society as I do right now. This is the most dangerous period I've ever seen. Okay, I'm going to get started in about 5 minutes, so if you want to take your seats. We started back again, 1968, so it's probably the oldest survival gathering. Back in those days, the primary concern was nuclear war and the Cold War. Nowadays, it's evolved into a much more complex survival situation where we have AI, civil disorder, we have conventional war, nuclear war, economic collapse. There's a lot of division in the country, especially through social media and disinformation and all that kind of things. People turned on each other. And yes, we might have a revolution inside a war. We predicted a pandemic several years ago. We also predicted some kind of an insurrection, and those things actually started to happen. And civilians are usually the targets of war nowadays. So we're seeing what's happening in Ukraine. We're seeing what's happening in Gaza. You don't have to become Rambo. I always say, you're not Rambo and neither was he. But you do have to have some military skills and first aid and rescue and, yes, combat and self-defense, escape and evasion. Those kind of skills will become important for civilians to survive.
This is the old school survival boot camp. It is a gathering of people that are practitioners and experts on every aspect of prepping, homesteading, survival, self-defense, you name it. The first year that they did this event, I think it was 4 years ago, maybe 5, very small turnout. It's gotten larger each year. I see a lot of families, professional people, people that wear suit and ties, work in offices. The more people are learning about the reality, their food security in this world, the more they're wanting to learn more about producing their own food, but also taking other aspects of their own personal living security into their own hands, like all the things that we were going to be using on a daily basis as opposed to going to the store and purchasing them. And people are going back to those old ways because it works. Now, the same people that were thinking that we were cuckoos, they're the types of people that are coming here now.
Don't go back and forth because you're off by a couple degrees or 3 degrees.
During the 18th century, the idea of a community having a militia, well, that's what you did. They had protection from any outside influences. Back then, it was Native Americans. Now we have close to like 16 million illegal aliens. Many of them have been, identified as being members of terrorist cells, drug cartels, human traffickers.
Maybe I want to get here before I come here.
And all of that, I believe, is intentional. It's going to make people hate each other, and it's going to make people fight each other, and it's going to divide people. And that's the only reason they're really doing it.
When you say they, who you would refer so people understand?
The elites and members of our government.
Positioning my thumb to where I can apply pressure, just changing that to my middle finger, pressing in, pulling out. And that is slow-mo of what MacGyver does.
Part of this whole prepper movement, this homesteading movement, is all about we want to do these things for ourselves because we're sick and tired of the failings and the corruption of our government that promises they're going to do these things for us.
So people are wondering why things are not the way that our country said that they would be. Why isn't the American dream occurring? You need to have decided that should the time come, you are willing to end a person's life. It is not an easy choice to make. These are not toys. If mishandled, can end a life. And if handled properly, under the right intent, can end a life. you need to have made that decision before you picked up a gun, that you would be willing to take that shot.
When we started this, especially in the 60s, 70s, even in the 80s, the media portrayed us as being paranoid and hunker in the bunker. But we got hit with the pandemic, which really woke people up to, hey, I went to the store and there was nothing at the store. Hey, there were all this civil disorder. They saw the police couldn't necessarily control that. Now, at this point, it's mainstream.
In today's video, we're going to be talking about urban invasion.
We're going to talk about 5 ways that you can survive the imminent civil war in the United States.
Some of the gear that you might want to be putting together before this election season goes.
What equipment should I buy?
This whole country is so divided. I've never seen anything like this in all the years that I've been alive, that it used to be that I had confidence in our politicians, and now I don't trust anything that I hear from politicians, and I don't trust that the politicians will help and protect us.
When we talked about safety, fingers should be outside and never on the trigger.
It's going to be bad no matter who wins. How bad? I don't know. I just don't know, but I'm really concerned about what's going to happen in November.
Defend himself with a gun.
Maybe the last election unleashed a lot of nasty. I think racism has always been an issue in this country. White supremacists have always existed, but they've almost been given permission to behave badly.
You're shooting, what, 5 rounds? 4 need to be on that paper.
I feel I want to be prepared for the worst case scenario. I want to have a lot of water in my apartment, even if I'm the only person left standing, and food, because it's going to happen. It's a matter of when. I don't know what's right or wrong. I think it's a big mess, and it's very sad. And I have a daughter who's going to have kids, and I just feel, oh my God, this is not a world to bring children into at this point.
The victim that we're going to see his family now and clean up his neighborhood, and my grandfather were both murdered in the same park. Right here is where Eric Dupree died. He allegedly sold crack to a cop, and he was riding a scooter on the sidewalk to get away, and a cop picked up a cooler, a 40-pound cooler, and smashed it into his head, crushed his skull, and killed him. Who do we avenge? Wow. Justice for? Wow. Say his name. Wow. Yeah. So today we're here in the place where he was killed to clean it up. So you have community groups who have come together with high school students to beautify this neighborhood. And particularly Black Americans. We're at a point where we can't trust the Democrats anymore because they've made so many promises and they haven't followed through on them. And the Republicans flat out tell us that they don't care about us. So Black people are at a place where they must provide for themselves. They must spend money with each other, keep it in our community. We must take control of our schools and educate ourselves. We must get guns and defend ourselves. We are at a point where we must control our destiny. You don't want to give up America. Remember the last time they wanted to give Black people rights and freedom. We went to war. And now black people are taking strides. You know, gay, trans people are taking strides. Women are making strides. And these old, rich white men and these poor, white trash crackers hate it. Hate it. Hate to see other people getting a piece of the pie. If there is a civil war, we are going to take care of us. These kids are now getting familiar with weapons. The important thing is, you know, we have to develop their minds first. And now that they've reached a certain point, we're teaching them how to use weapons and firearms. There's a lot of Democrats who don't agree with me, who say that, you know, guns cause crime, black people are killing black people. No, poverty causes crime.
We, the people, are supposed to be the masters of the government, not the other way around. It's no longer really we, the people, anymore. It's the government that sort of allows the people to do things that they think is okay. I worked with a group where we made a presence in border areas and drug smuggling areas, human trafficking areas, trying to forward information onto border patrols in order to report back to them on like where some heavy traffic was. You know, the Biden administration has done very little to, to slow that flow of people. So I think that's going to be a key, probably a very key component of this upcoming election. I'm also not naive enough to think that the left and right aren't two wings of the same bird. If I were to use two words for the state of our government and the state of the elections, I would say shit show. So first thing when zeroing anything, whether it's a red dot, whether it's a prism, whether it's an LPVO or scope or whatever, we are so used to printing money out of control. We are so used to the government expansion that I don't know that there is a point of return. There are very, very crazy people in this country on the both left and right. With that said, that's probably the smallest portion of society.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
I do not have the desire for a violent civil war to happen. However, if the potential was there to have it, I think society is far too lazy and selfish to do it.
What I hope happens is that the nominee for the Republican ticket, who looks like it's probably going to be Donald J. Trump, I hope he gets in.
I can expect that there's going to be other types of creative ways to affect the election.
We way overestimate the importance of who's president. If we're going to have a war, Biden's not going to stop it and Trump's not going to stop it.
You and I are the same. I feel like we're all one, and we all need to lead with love and acceptance and tolerance, and that is not what's happening.
We don't care. Let the country burn. Let it burn. So while the Democrats and Republicans, essentially white people, have this big fight with each other, we're going to build.
Expecting Trump to win We do believe it's going to be a point of no return, and if we don't act now, we might not get an opportunity to act later.